So thank you all for coming, and let's have some fun as well as some learning stuff, some good stuff. We want to have some fun. So you just give me a minute or two. There's always this kind of ritual when we're doing a broadcast. Hang on, I've just flicked the picture. Didn't mean to do that. When we're doing a broadcast of this kind, where people do come on late and you don't really know how much time to give to them. That it can be unforeseen circumstances, but then there's been, a dozen or more people sat there patiently for 15 or 20 minutes. They were very, very punctual. So out of respect for them, we can't hang around too long. So just give it maybe another 30 seconds or so, see how we do. Those of you who are on already now listening to me, it's pretty obvious what we're going to do. I've sent you 3 emails. We're going to talk about real IQ. Now, it's not that university academic stuff, and I'll explain the difference. A very significant difference, I might say. Okay, so I'm just going to take a drink of water. Then I think we'll go, despite those who are late. They're still coming on, people still jumping on. I need to keep hydrated. This is Las Vegas, temperature in the 90s. It's quite warm just now and very dehydrating, of course. Okay, so just checking the recording's working, because a lot of people are relying on, hundreds are relying on the recording, especially people in Europe, Australia, and so on. Okay, here we go. So, a webinar on the subject of real IQ, what it is, how to raise it, that's more important. First of all, just a minute, you see I put a graphic here on the title page here explaining IQ. I think most people know the concept, but maybe don't know the details. But IQ is so arranged that the average is 100. So half the population are above and half of the population. Well, that's called a mean, isn't it? Not an average. But anyway, you'll see from this that about 70% of the population fall within 30 above and 30 below. Quite exceptional people have an IQ above 160. To be in Mensa, the high IQ club, you've got to have an IQ of 140, which, as you'll see, puts you in the top 1%, basically. All not very relevant, actually, because one of the things I want to make clear is that the so-called academic IQ isn't really much use to anybody. Somebody joked once that the only thing it really measures is your ability to take IQ tests. Certainly doesn't tell us how smart you are in life. And that's what we're going to be talking about here. Okay, so I'll find out how to roll my slides on. I'm going to have to click them by the looks. Okay, so let's start with a big promise. I'm going to be talking to you about how to totally raise your real intelligence. Now, I'm going to tell you what that means as we go along. And part of that is that you start getting the success that you want in life, but without years or even months of study and practice. We don't have to become trained psychologists or special counselors or anything like that. Once you get the basic facts and how this game works, because life's a game, isn't it? It's playing a game. There are rules. But as I constantly joke, if you don't know the rules, you haven't got the slightest chance of winning. And I think that's pretty obvious to most people. Okay, so folks, I'd like your full attention for an hour. Is that reasonable? I'm going to give you some good stuff in that hour. I want you to stay and listen to the end, because it's a story that unfolds, and I've got some special things I want to tell you about towards the end. So I want you to listen with me right through to the end, and for that, I'm going to offer a gift for those that stay till the end of this presentation, a sort of thank you gift. But you have to stay right to the end and listen to everything I have to say, okay? And then I'll announce the gift and you can take it. And the gift itself actually is certainly worth an hour of your time. Okay. Now, this is the technical stuff, okay? This is a webinar and we need plenty of bandwidth. Otherwise, the video may freeze, you may get delays, pauses, and so on. It gets very irritating. To make sure that doesn't happen to you, please shut down all your other stuff on your computer. You're watching this in a browser. close down everything except that browser, and in fact even close down the other pages in your browser. But close your emails, please. I don't want you distracted by emails and pings every time an email comes in anyway. Any apps, close them all down, especially close down Skype if you have it open. Some people have it routinely open. That's very greedy with video and audio resources, as it were. In fact, just close everything else down except the browser that we're watching this from. I'd also like you to turn off your cell phone. You know, living life with people who've got a cell phone by their elbow, it's like living a life with two people. You know, you don't know if they're listening to you or actually half watching their cell phone. I promise you this is 60 minutes of worthwhile listening. Just turn your phone off and concentrate. I mean, I'm going to share something that could totally change your life. So just no distractions, please. That's the idea. Just concentrate. That's all I ask. Okay. Now, almost everybody on the call, I'm pretty sure, knows me, but not everybody. So I'm going to introduce myself. In any case, the recording will exist for many months or years to come. So I've got to explain who I am. So if you know who I am, give me a minute to explain those who don't. My name is Keith Scott-Mumby. You can tell by my accent I'm British, but actually now naturalized American. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I got, a bunch of degrees and stuff, British medical degrees, MBCHB, so you have to qualify as a surgeon as well as a physician in Britain, and other cool stuff. So I've got, 4 or 5 external degrees, and I've been professor at a couple of universities, so I've got some standing in the community. Like I said, I'm a member of Mensa, and I've created punk psychology, and I'm author of over 20 other books on the subjects of health and well-being. Okay, I have coached, and I'm talking health coaching, not life coaching. I don't do that stuff. I've coached well-being coaching, I should say, celebrities, millionaires, but also failures and dropouts. I've coached happy people, sad people, young people, old people, couples, doctors and healthcare practitioners. I've got hundreds of thousands of those on my list, to better health and a better understanding of themselves and life. I've got over 40 years of research into human potential, and I get results, not as some flowery self-styled guru type figure, but as a real teacher. The word doctor, incidentally, means teacher. I don't know if you knew that, but that's the actual origin of it. So we're okay with me talking to you. I have plenty of cred to be delivering a talk about this particular subject. Where we're starting out from is the understanding that most of us are operating at far less than our full mental potential. But with punk psychology, you'll be able to raise this, what I call real IQ. And as I said, it's different from the academic IQ. That's the one that's normally measured by IQ tests. Listen, let me tell you, I explain, I'm a member of Mensa. When I look at the fellow members of Mensa, they're very high IQ people. They're smart in that sense, but they're not smart in life. They drink beer, they steal their tax money, they cheat on their wives, and they screw up and get irrational and irritable in just about the same proportion as everybody else, frankly. So that kind of IQ is not the tool that we're looking for a good life. But what the thing is, we don't know what the human mind is capable of. I'm just going to give you a few tantalizing glimpses here. A few outstanding individuals, I think, will practically make you breathless. Let's start with young Mozart. Amadeus Mozart, the composer. He's said to have astounded his contemporaries by writing out the entire score of Allegri's Miserere from memory. After only one hearing, he went home, wrote it all down. And it was a big Vatican secret. It was a big deal that he was able to just copy it from memory. This lady, Shakuntala Devi, a lady from Calcutta, she's amazing. She was able to work out the 23rd root of a 201-digit number. That's a digit or a number, sorry, that's 201 digits long. Even that's hard to comprehend, never mind dividing it or multiplying it or working out the 23rd root of it. She did it in 50 seconds, less than a minute. It took a computer longer than that to confirm that she was right, but it needed over 13,000 instructions beforehand. So she beat the computer by hours or days, in effect, if you like. Amazing. This character, George Koltanovsky, a chess champion, in 1960, he played 56 consecutive unbeaten games of blindfold chess. That means he couldn't see the board. Now, I play chess, so if I say this, that he did this at an average speed of 10 seconds per move, that's more impressive to me than anything. And he didn't lose to anybody. He beat 50 of his opponents and drew with the other 6. And they were all able to see the board in pieces. I mean, it's mind-bending when you think about it. Now, I wonder if you've heard of these brilliant youngsters called savants. And they're sometimes brain injured, you know, they have deficits like autism and things like that. And yet they have these amazing powers of mind. One of them, Stephen Wiltshire, a young British guy, I'll show you his picture in a minute. He's been called the human camera. Been taken on one helicopter ride over London, and then when he landed, he went and drew the entire city from memory. All the rooftops, the windows, the doors, the buildings, everything in the right place. And he's done this in Houston, in New York, he did it in Rome. This is the guy. He is very amazing, and yet he has autism spectrum disorder. You make of that what you will. What's it telling us? Well, it's telling us that even with a slightly misfiring brain, the human mind is capable of the most incredible potential. Compared to these examples I've given you, I mean, these guys have mental powers that most of us, the best we can do is like a wet firecracker pop at the side of a nuclear bomb blast. The question, however, for me, is not really how do they do it? That's an obvious question. But the real question for me, because I'm that kind of contrary person, is why the hell can't we do things like that? Why not? We should be able to. Well, here's part of the answer in this one little diagram. We have a lot of our attention units stuck in the past. We are, if you like, hypnotized by our past. It lives with us in the present, and we kind of suck it into the present, and it's very distracting. It reduces the number of active, available attention units, I've called them, to have here in the present, in the now. In modern times, we all know about the now, you know, Eckhart Tolle's book and so on, living in the, it's all right to say live in the now, but how do you do it? That we've got all this bad stuff in the past, which keeps you distracted. And as I said, it's a bit like being hypnotized by the past. And we're going to talk about unhypnotizing. Because once you start recovering your attention units into the now, then you can see how it's going to work. You know, if you've got 20% of your attention units in the now, the other 80% stuck in the past, okay? You can picture that. Now, if we move those 80% more into the now, it means your capability of problem solving and getting good solutions has gone up by 5 times. You've gone from 20% to 100%. Okay, well, you can't quite get 100% of attention units off the past, but you get what I'm saying. So it's all this clutter from the past, memory confusion and hidden memory override that makes us irrational. It makes us think dumb stuff, do dumb stuff, and feel all these crazy negative emotions that we don't really want. They don't exactly serve us, do they? So with punk psychology, we can do this. We can drag more attention off the past and into the present. And I've got a couple of little sketches here to sort of try and visualize this. Okay, there is what I call clear mind space, and that's the bit that is firing okay, even if it's only 5, 10, 20% of what you've got, works okay, but there's all this bad stuff, you know, the clutter that's distracting your attention. There's good stuff and bad stuff. Hey, but guess what? You know, by the rules of Murphy, it's the bad stuff that grabs your attention, not the really nice, pleasant, lovely stuff. So if you have a fairly poor or reduced clear mind space, you're going to get poor outcomes. It's obvious. You're only firing on, you know, 1 or 2 cylinders instead of all 4. The reverse of this, of course, is to clear off all the negative charges and the clutter from the past. Memory doesn't vanish, but it becomes what I call clean and useful memory. In other words, if you like, those painful, miserable memories from the past, like abuse or whatever, or some accident or trauma, you're in hospital, you nearly died, this, that, and the other, yada, 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 all of that becomes reclassified as just information. Think about it. It's valuable to you. It is information. And that means you have more mental prowess. Okay. More of what I call adaptive intelligence. This is my sort of technical scientific term for it. That's the amount of reasoning power and intelligence a person has with which to solve the real problems in life. This is not, doing the little picture puzzles and what's the missing number in this sequence, all that stuff that they throw at you in an IQ test. All that's irrelevant. This is intelligence in resolving actual situations at work and in your relationships, etc. And listen, who doesn't need some of that? That would be cool. Surely anyone would agree with me there. Yeah. So adaptive IQ, that's what I'm calling real IQ here, the ability to get the outcomes that you want. Obviously, from what I've explained so far, a low real IQ is going to be trouble at every turn, failure, misery, loss, life, not good. But a high real IQ, not the academic IQ, remember, a high real IQ means that your life starts to get on track. It gets better, more of what you want. What do you want? More love, more prosperity, health and happiness. I mean, come on, would that be a good thing? Of course it would. I'm not suggesting here that everyone's a latent genius and simply by following these methods you'll automatically become one or become a human camera. But by using punk psychology to clear the fundamental reasons that our mental powers are underused and getting rid of the worst anyway of these encumbrances, anyone can raise his or her abilities to as yet undreamed of levels, and that's good for everybody. Frankly, I've yet to meet a person who didn't think that there were many times in life when they could have done things differently and been a lot happier for it. Failure's a kind of almost universal experience. We screw up, the old saying, shit happens and it happens a lot and so on. We even have a saying, don't we, that it's human to err, as if getting it right isn't quite decent. It's not proper. You're a human. You're supposed to screw up. It's almost reached that level, hasn't it? And of course, everyone has times when each of us were wonderfully happy, moments of bliss. Somebody proposed, you realized you were in love, a good hot dog at the ball game, whatever it is turns you on. But as such, I'm not tossing that out that I want a burger at the ball game, by the way. It's a famous saying by, I've forgotten his name, one of the film actors of the past. You could probably help me out with who he is. Humphrey Bogart, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, it's such moments of bliss. Obviously, we don't want to change places with anyone else in the world. We're happy to be us. But if we're honest, these wonderful times, these occasions are few and far between, and they seem to happen only by serendipity. Serendipity is a lovely word that means by happy chance. So it's rather like being tossed around in a turbulent sea of misfortune on a tiny raft and having no real means of steering yourself. You're flopped around by the waves and tides. Islands would be these times of joy, but it's pure luck whenever we make a successful landfall. Really, what more often happens is as the years advance, land is seen less and less often until not at all. Finally, the ocean seems empty and we're just doomed to drift out on it until one final storm sends us to the bottom. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. That's what I'm telling you. That's what this webinar is about. But we have to ask this question: why do we do things that we shouldn't? We seem at times to be driven by this relentless madness, which urges us into actions that are not only irrational, but actually highly destructive, both to ourselves and others. And so in the aftermath of our folly, all we can do is sigh with regret and count the cost and think, oh my, if only that hadn't happened. But if doing things that are nuts isn't enough, that's pain enough, we've got the frustration of not acting when we should. So we do things we shouldn't, we do bad stuff, but then we don't do the good stuff when the opportunity is there. More than all the times in life that we've been hurt or hurt other people, those moments where life presented with some golden opportunity that we failed to take. And so the fame and glamour, the riches or success that we crave just doesn't come to us. It's a bum deal, isn't it? The hard-working clerk who's just passed over for promotion, the sweet girl who gets the wrong man and ends up a battered wife, the would-be writer who somehow never sells a line of his work, the rich man who drinks excessively and dies all too young, not just rich men, but, celebrities, stars. Good people. These and many other human stories are played out each and every day, basically. As I said, it seems as if the common condition for human life here is that we suffer and fail. In the words of Oliver Wendell Holmes. Now, Oliver Wendell Holmes was a Victorian doctor. He was also a court judge, I believe. He said this, which is very poignant. Too many people die with their music still in them. Why is it so? Well, too often it's because they're always getting ready to live. And before they know it, time's run out. So isn't the problem that's driving us behind all this, isn't it the destructive emotions and the force that they exert over us? I mean, it's not fair, is it even? It seems as if it's not enough to be cursed with ridiculous and destructive actions that create messes and bring about failure, but we're forced to submit to these horrible and unpleasant and inappropriate feelings which seem to make everything worse. Bummer. Look at these people. Here's a guy we all know. At the time, one of the richest celebrities, they're loved by everybody and worth millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. But look what happened to him. He died lonely and sad, and he was dosed upon drugs. He was about 150 pounds overweight. His life was a wreck, and yet he had everything going for him. He must have made hundreds and hundreds of incorrect turns, wrong, faulty decisions, you know. Sad. This guy, Howard Hughes, who knows his history? He was one of the richest, well, he was probably the richest man of his time. This was before John Paul Getty. He was a billionaire in times when millions of dollars were a lot of money. But he ended up pathetic. He was terrified of people. He locked himself away and would hide, and he didn't want to meet with people. He didn't want to touch anything that other human beings had touched, not even a doorknob, for fear of germs. He was paranoid about germs, and he was frightened if he touched something, the next thing you know, he'd have a fatal disease and he'd die. So he practically lived a life of death or living death, trying to avoid microbes. Bummer. Look at this guy. We all know who this is. I mean, he had more young, sweet girls going breathless and fainting at the sight of him than probably any human being that's ever lived. But weird or what? And he's a classic person who really ended, he was a good singer and a brilliant dancer, but a very strange human being of whom one can say with total conviction that he wasn't happy being who he was. He wanted to have white skin. He wanted to be like Diana Ross. He wanted everything he couldn't have, basically, and so made himself excruciatingly miserable because he couldn't have what he wanted. I decided we needed at least one woman, so here's Judy Garland, you know, a child star, Wizard of Oz and all that stuff, fated all over the world, very wealthy for a young lady of her time, but she boozed herself to death, virtually. She was on drugs and alcohol. Her life ended a complete mess. She crashed on the rocks, or that, you remember that sunken ship going to the bottom? Classic case. So this is my question for you. If really rich and really successful people find life hard to bear and filled with pain, who don't like being who they are or experiencing what they're getting, then what chance do the rest of us have? Well, the answer, of course, is very little if something doesn't change. Those are the key words there. It doesn't have to be like that. I've already said to you that punk psychology can fix this. By the way, its official name, its sort of scientific name is hypnoetics. Now, it sounds a bit like hypnotism, but it's not. It's the opposite. It's really about unhypnotizing people from the past in which they've been stuck. So, as I said, we're dragging their attention off the timeline and dragging it into the now would be wrong. What we're doing is flipping a switch and it twangs back into the now, whether you want it to or not. You know, it's not a matter of dragging it, kicking and screaming into the now. It will revert to the now just as soon as we've done our job correctly. And of course, you know, I'm able to show my students how to do that using punk psychology. As I said, in doing so, we recover our attention units and our real intelligence soars. So if we can do this, just imagine yourself changed. We can change people. 90 days from now, imagine your smarts are on, your real intelligence has jumped. So you get a job at twice the salary or more. Why stop at double? If you work for yourself and run your own business, then imagine what it'd be like clearing all the obstacles that are holding you back from the millions that you want. And when I say obstacles, I don't mean the things that other people are doing. I mean the things you're doing to yourself, the stuff you've got on board that's holding you back. The clutter. Wouldn't it be good to get rid of that? Of course it would be good. Imagine how things would change in the way you feel in your relationship with you or your partner or spouse if you were able to dump all that conflict and find yourself back in each other's arms in love. Or if you don't have a successful relationship right now, imagine if you could just go out and get one, just exactly the one that you want, and find the person that you know is out there just for you. You could get out of your own way, go find them. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And how would it be if just a few weeks from now you found yourself stoked with power and skills so that you could plan and execute on any dream that you care to dream? It sounds like a wild, idle promise, but trust me, the only thing that does hold people back is themselves. There is anybody can go and start $1 million business, can go and get happily married, can write and script a movie, because people are doing it all the time. There is absolutely no reason why anything you come up with couldn't be done. And while you're sitting at home thinking, oh, damn, I don't know what to do, there's somebody out there doing it in your stead. You just know that's true. So, the key phrase here, as I said, is getting out of your own way. If you understood more about people and why people fail and how to correct it, preferably before it happens, so you never fail, what would that be like? Whatever you want. I'm not saying it would be easy and you click your fingers and there's a check for $1 million in the post. That's stupid nonsense from the so-called law of attraction. But I'm talking about being able to get it. Whatever problems come, you can figure your way around and you relentlessly go forward to what it is that you want. Wouldn't that just be amazing? This is an old chestnut, this question, but it's a killer diller question. Is what would you do in life if you knew you could not possibly fail? I'm sure you have something in mind. If I just slow down a moment and say to you, just think, what would that be? If you knew, if you knew you couldn't, where am I going? Oh, sorry, flicked the wrong button. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? And then I want you to picture yourself doing it right now. I invite you to look at that as a sort of future construct or a creative idea. How does it look? How does it feel? Amazing, of course. Now, you probably think all this stuff's taken care of somewhere. We know what to do, right? Somebody has the answers. We've got psychology, we've got psychiatry, we've got stuff, we've got gurus. But actually, it's wrong, and the evidence is all around you. Just look at the world around you. Do you see people happy and flourishing? Relationships in harmony? People getting prosperous all over the place, or being balanced and even-handed and kind? No, it's not happening. So nobody's really got the answers so far. I have some more answers. There's nothing out there of this caliber. I don't have all of the answers, but I've got a lot more than some of the people out there with the temerity to teach, and they teach the same old stuff. Tony Robbins and motivational seminars. Do you ever see people really change after they've been to a motivational seminar? Yes, I know there's always somebody that goes out and signs up $1 million deal, but he was probably going to do that the next Wednesday anyway. I'm talking about the typical person, and the answer is no, you don't see this. 99% of people go home and nothing happens. These master illusionists are just selling hype and sizzle. They don't teach you nothing because they don't know anything. The best they can hope to do is get the person to do things for themselves. But honestly, most of them just don't know what to do. They get you excited and tell you, wouldn't it be wonderful? But how do you do that? They don't have any ideas. Look, this is seminar stuff, workshop stuff, excitement, commitment, planning. There's nothing new. These have been around forever. That's what everybody's been teaching. What's new and what's needed is a raised ability to work the steps. more vision to see what to do, more smarts to figure out what to do. That's the important thing. You know, don't tell me that, as a lot of gurus do, that you're just afraid. Fear is holding you back. If you want $1 million and you knew exactly what to do step by step, you'd leap out of bed at 3 a.m. to get started. You know you would. You couldn't wait if you just knew what to do, but people don't know what to do. And to make it worse, people are distractible from the past and its miseries. That, as I said, attention's stuck on old stuff, failures and things. We want to change that. And knowing what to do, that's what I mean by increased real IQ. You can work it out. So how do we do it? Well, I'm not going to share hundreds of things with you, but let's talk through 3 different secrets, if you like, that will probably make all the difference right now in this webinar to how you think and see things. First of all, big secret number 1, everybody knows this: the past is the past, it's done, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Wrong. You can change everything about the past. The most important thing to change is how you react to it. Stuff happens, but you know, if you're going to cave yourself in with it, that's something you're doing to yourself. We can change that by removing the charge, the pain, that is, you know, stored negative energy. We call that charge, okay? If we can take that off what's happened, guess what happens? I already pointed it out a few slides ago. It just becomes information. It's no longer pain. So you can think your way through it instead of trying not to go there. Remember this little picture? You know, as I said, memory just becomes information. You've got much enhanced, clear mind space. You can function at a much higher level. And in fact, I'll let you into a little secret. Those of you who've read the Punk Psychology book will already know this. And by the way, if you haven't, go get yourself a copy. You need it. But those who have know that you can change the past. Actually, we call it rewriting personal history. Why not? Memory is just pictures and impressions that you own. They're yours, only yours. So what if you could overwrite the files you don't like with a better version of events? It's a bit like cheating, yes. Invent yourself a better past. My question is, why not? Anyway, the thing is, it works. So let's move on now. Big secret number 2. This is one of the corniest of all mistakes that you hear going around. Recall and memory and history techniques don't work. Everyone says that. They're out of fashion. That's true. But come on, look, you don't have to be trained or a counselor. Who doesn't know that a bad experience will color how you react in the now and how you react in the future? Yes, I'll accept that most people do it the wrong way, and of course the results are poor if you do it wrong. Isn't that true everywhere in life? But I'm not going to let that happen to you guys. I'm going to show you how to do it properly so that you can make raising IQ very effective. And I don't use any of the existing techniques. This is 21st century science, straight from Harvard researchers. It's not Freud, in other words. There's a way to do where you can step out of your memory into the light and into the now, shed these things, just transfer everything into the information folder from the misery folder, and life moves on at a much higher level than it did before. As I said, this is very modern, so anything that's been around, you know, like NLP and Sedona and EFT and things, these have been around 20 years or more. That's not what I'm talking about. These are not competition. All right, and big secret number 3. Well, I've already hinted at this anyway, come to think of it. But when a person escapes the grip of a damaging memory, he or she already has the answers that they need. This is very fundamental. The pain just becomes information, but the person has on board apparently all the resources that they really need for problem solving. And we can supplement that with hundreds of fast, effective, what we call hacks. That's little tricks and wrinkles that change things. But essentially the person, the individual, the being is deeply wise once freed of misconceptions and the bad stuff, the clutter that we all carry around. And that's very good news. Okay, so let me ask you another question. Can you imagine what it would be like if your real IQ rocket in life did start coming on track because you knew what to do, what to say, and how to resolve obstacles? You'd start getting everything that you wanted. Well, you'd be your own kind of Einstein in a way, wouldn't you? Your real IQ, anyway, was shift smartly upwards. Well, we can deliver in Punk Psychology we can deliver on this promise. We can remove distractions, solve problems, bring new insight, and open up new pathways. Punk psychology will bring you to a place of less turmoil, less conflict and indecision, more certainty and more knowing. That sounds pretty wonderful, doesn't it? Can't see you, but nod, it does. Okay, here's a lovely lady, become quite good friends with us, and she joined us in the punk psychology movement. She just said a few words for me. We got lots of testimonials, but she said a few words, especially for this webinar. Since I've been studying punk psychology, I found it quite astonishing and have become more compassionate and less reactive to things. That's smart for a start. I have a better understanding of how life works, and my consciousness has expanded. I find I have more creative potential. I've been able to help other people. She learned this in no time, by the way. This lady is fearless at stepping in when people are suffering, saying, hey, this is what we do. Sit down, listen to me, do what I tell you. Particularly, I'm sorry, I'll go back to her words. Particularly people who have been stuck, perhaps stuck in relationships, or sad people. Sad people have become happier. People with rotten relationships, I've improved them. And generally, it's been quite magical knowing what to do. So, you could become a kind of a superhero, a community superhero. Listen, you don't have to lift up rolled locomotives or stop an aircraft from crashing. That's Superman fantasy stuff. But to be able to turn people's lives around, and by raising their adaptive IQ, lead them to the lives that they've always wanted. I mean, how good is that? I mean, it's more than Good Samaritan stuff. It is superhero stuff, as I said. You and your spouse, your kids, it affects all of them positively too. You could start a local tribe of very smart folks. Okay, so how would you like to learn how to do some of these serious IQ upgrades, shall I call them? Would you like me to show you a way to do this quickly and easily? What if I could offer you some direct help learning this super skill? Would you be interested? What I want to do, I want to ask you a question. Let me open the chats because I am interested in your answer. Is say yes. Do I have your permission to share what I know for the next few minutes, how my Punk Psychology Academy works? If you're okay with that, then please just type a yes in the chat box, which is down, if you hover with your mouse down under the screen itself, or just the lower part of the screen, you'll see a little bar open up of which chat is one of your choices. And you can say yes. Okay, cool, says Anne. Good. Yeah, Greg, yes, 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 yeah, oh yes. All right, storms are yeses. Let's go. How do we do this? Okay, so I'm going to click back into, right. Sorry, I've got to click back into PowerPoint. Otherwise the slides don't do as I tell them. Okay, well, here we go. I'm excited to share this because for the first time, what I want to do is share an online academy format. This is how we do things in the modern world now, isn't it? I'm sure you know that. You don't have to go to school anymore. You can watch videos online and you can read study materials in the comfort of your own home. Often it's just a question of booting up a file on your computer and read it. And you can have these kind of pseudo books, if you like. I keep flicking on when I don't want to. Anyway, there we go. So if you let me share with what you need to know about raising real IQ, I want to tell you that I've got a lot to give. If you want help creating the life you want, I have a lot to give. The Academy itself, first of all, right, there are over 28 modules of terrific teachings and demonstrations. It's just a feast of knowledge up there. I've spent several years accumulating all of these, but most of them were put together around the book Punk Psychology, and since I published the book Punk Psychology, I'll be teaching her, for example, some amazing things. I call these thought structures. Now, nobody else seems to have grasped this idea that there are actual structures in them. I'm not talking about brain, by the way. I'm talking about the mind. There are structures in there. Everyone thinks, thoughts rattle around and they talk about monkey chatter and things. they're missing the point, which is there are parts in there which, if you label and examine the parts, then you get an idea what's going on. It's sort of a real anatomy of the mind, and honestly, just nobody else is doing it. We've got a whole chapter of wizard definitions in the book Punk Psychology that just reading the definitions you think, oh my god, because somebody's studied it and got it right, and it's not that big a mystery. So right off the bat, you'll learn amazing secrets to behavior and emotions that everybody else seems to miss, basically. It sounds like a strange boast, but as I said, if you think, I said it a few slides ago, if you just look around you and think what the world's like, you realize there isn't a lot of teaching of the right stuff going on. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such a god-awful mess, would there? No, remember, I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. I believe I do. I'm a trained MD. I've been associate professor of psychiatry at a small alternative university in Washington, D.C., now demised, sadly. I've been studying the mind and behavior for decades, and when I say there's nothing like punk psychology, I mean it. I know there isn't because I know what's out there, because I'm extremely well-read, well-studied, and got a high real IQ. For example, I can teach you what the mind is actually doing. Now, this is weird. In all the textbooks on psychology, biology, and medicine, I've never seen a description of what the mind is actually doing. Yes, they're saying it thinks thoughts, but what is it actually doing that for? You see, they think it's all the brain and, cells light up and synapses flash and clickety-click. But what is it actually doing? It doesn't just think. Think what? Well, that's a big secret. It's one I'm going to be telling. It's called the mind's #1 algorithm. And I'll be telling you what that is and how it goes wrong and how we can fix it. An algorithm, remember, is a little step-by-step sequence of procedures that starts in a certain place and ends up spitting out the answer. Computers do it all the time. But with computers, they're perfect insofar as they can do their calculations correctly. But if you feed them any bum data or there's been a glitch wired into the programming, you get wrong answers. But, it's all because it's been programmed wrongly. And if you undo the bad programming, you can fix it. And that's the mind's #1 algorithm is the most precious one we have. Well, listen, I'll give you a clue. It's about scanning the present, seeing what's going on, comparing that to your memory banks, learning and knowledge and past experience to figure out what's the next likely future coming up and make good decisions about the best way to proceed to get the mostest outcomes and the best outcomes you want. That's very quick. There's a whole video about that, pages and pages of learning about what that actually means. But anyway, as I said, there are 28 modules up there. This is just the basic stuff. There's lots more. But you learn how to do this advanced technique that I'm talking about, the Harvard-based technique. In other words, how do we transform the mind to bring more attention units into the now? And as I said, I've already hinted, it's from modern research. It's not whimsy or new age psychobabble. You'll learn everything from releasing a person from past emotional charges quickly and easily, all the way up to out-of-body experiences. I mean, how cool is that? But people do. Once you start releasing them, often they just rocket upwards into wonderful spiritual space and they can see themselves from above, and it's really quite startling and enlivening. Wonderful. So if anyone's asked you to sign up for a course of this kind, Tony Robbins, talking 50, 70,000 now, but a lot of people run courses like this. You'd expect to pay, what, $2,000, $10,000? Do you know that guy, who's that fraud, what's his name? James Ray, he charged $10,000 for a weekend. All he had was a sweatshop thing. They sat in a tent and sweated. And he killed 3 people, sadly, because he wouldn't let them out. That was the only technique he had. I mean, how corny is that? Why would you pay $10,000 for something like that? I mean, if I could teach you even half of what I said I could, or if you would go away and learn to study at university what I'm going to teach you, you'd be forking over tens of thousands of dollars a semester. No, nothing like that, so don't worry, I'm not softening up for the kill. But, maybe you still think that we can't really change people. It's a common belief, of course, but it's only a belief. It's just a belief. Listen, you don't have to have been in a car crash like Brendan Burchard. That's his big teaching. I was in a car crash and nearly died, therefore I'm allowed to teach you all sorts of good stuff. To me, it doesn't add up. But anyway, that's not the point. All you need really to start is a decision to change and the know-how of what to do. I'm talking know-how. I teach know-how. I don't just teach inspiration. Life can be wonderful. Dream of the stars. I teach you what to do, how you're going to get there. As I said, it's a laughably small donation. When you compare it to what you spend on things like coffees in a month, or movies, or eating out, or even modestly eating out, you could spend $400 or $500 a month. No problem. The pleasure and value of that's gone in less than an hour. Listen, if it's eating out, you might well find there's no pleasure at all. You put £3 on next day. I'm talking about something positive that lasts for a lifetime. And I'm only asking, well, I'm asking less than $400. But look, there's a lot more. To make this program work, it's not just enough to sit and watch videos and read books and read the documents. You're going to have to be coached as to how to do this and learn well. And we have mentors and coaches to see that you do it quickly and learn well. Coaching, of course, comes anywhere between $200 and $5,000 an hour. I know people who charge more than that. But let's be modest and say you're helped for up to 10 hours in the 90 days or so after you join the academy at $250. These are just modest ideas, and I'm not going to charge you any of this, so don't worry. I'm just saying, it's a value equivalent to about $2,500 maybe. Total value so far, $4,500, but that's 10 times what I'm actually asking. But as I said, there's more. You get 10 PDF books as downloads that will teach you some amazing hacks, some fundamental secrets of life and living. Remember I talked to you about thought structures? Well, in terms of love and relationships, we have something I call the constellation of a chord. Brilliant. Nobody else has got it. Nobody else is teaching that. They say, yes, communicate better, your relationships will improve. But what are all the parts, the anatomy of a relationship? I've got that for you. I can teach you unstoppable logic, the entire Flourish and Beyond series. And we've got a hack called Finding Inner Peace. I mean, just the sound of that, isn't it wonderful? And I will teach you the science of affirmations. There's no good just saying things. I want $1 million. I want to be happy. Women love me. Guys love me. I'll meet the person of my dream. Doesn't work because of what we call the 3 wishes effect. Everybody's messing around with a second and third wish, and you can't have one override or mask the other. So you have to learn. There's a technique to making so-called affirmations work. Actually, they're really wishes. We have something called the curiosity sandwich, which is very amusing but extremely helpful in life. What's a curiosity sandwich? I'm going to tell you. So that's the curiosity sandwich. Closing loops to decompress. That's a way to make yourself more efficient and feel much more on the ball, more vigorous, more energetic, because closing loops, you're sealing off incomplete work from the past. I've got a staggering intellectual property called the scale of emotional and social health. You'll love it. Communication boxing. What's that? Well, it's the idea of creating a metaphorical safe box into which people can communicate. They're surrounded by this box and protected. Listen, can you imagine what would happen to most teenagers if somebody just listened to what they were trying to say? If somebody listened and didn't shut them up or interrupt or contradict them, just listened. Well, that's what we mean by communication boxing. And I've got some brilliant value teaching in that. And something called a mini day. Well, let's call the books, I don't know what, e-books, $30 a piece, another $300. So nearly $5,000. Again, I'm not charging you for this, but there's more. You're going to get, for 3 months, you get a weekly Q&A call with me. Now, no substitutes. It's only going to be me. Only me answers the questions. That's 12 hours of professional time, if you like. Value, well, it's priceless. I mean, it is. But let's say, 5,000. That's about a third of what I'd charge anyone else. Up to nearly 10,000. All this just for the same old price. But there's more. Don't forget, this is a technique we run on several techniques that we run on a person. We work the transformational procedure on a person. So you will learn to do it on a peer body, but the peer body will learn to do it on you. So you're going to get valuable work time in which you can change how you feel while you're learning to change how other people feel. When you've learned to do this, you can charge, look, $100 an hour. I was in Australia not very long ago. I charged $200 an hour. People were throwing money at me, tens of thousands of dollars within a matter of weeks to have this. It's valuable. People like it. But even if you want to be modest, you know, like $100 an hour, try half of that while you're training, if you like. But, you know, it has value. People are being transformed. It is transformational psychology, if you like. What you can name your benefit, really. Do you want 25 hours, 50 hours, you know, 2,500, 5,000, whatever you want to name. I'm just playing at numbers, okay. But the value would be $12,000 or more. I'm sure you got the point, right? The actual cost, well, why don't you think of the actual cost here instead of the cost of doing this wonderful, exciting, very enhancing, mind-developing academy experience and program? Why don't you think of the cost of not doing it? If nothing changes, nothing improves, what's going to happen in your life? Listen, if you're getting the message and would like to join us, as I said, there are no catches, there are no hidden costs, no subsequent costs, no tricks. Then just go along to this link at the bottom here, punkpsychologyacademy.com, and you can sign yourself up there. You just need to pledge your credit card. In fact, if you want, you can pay it in 2 parts. So I can't make it any easier. I'm not going to come round to your front door and knock on the door, give it to you. Life doesn't work like that. But, you know, this is not about raising money. This is about training people, missionaries, if you like, who can go out there and change life. So, I mean, what, less than $400? It's nothing. I want to share with you an important teaching from Robert Kiyosaki. Remember him? He's the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy. And one of his most important teachings of all, the one that's meant most to me, is the difference between poor people and rich people is that poor people buy liabilities. They buy cars, they buy boats, they want a bigger TV, they want the latest whiz-bang. All the stuff that costs money, they're spending money. In other words, they're what we call consumers. And that's a way to be very poor for the rest of your life. Rich people don't do that. They buy assets. I talk in terms of going out to buy income. That's what I do. I buy income. They're going to buy things that will make them more money. And this is a skill with which you can add to whatever income resources you've got. You can make it work for you as a career, and you can charge people for the services. So you get your money back. Listen, you get 100 times your money back within a year or two. So we've got this sort of life-changing package that's going to skyrocket your real IQ, showing you, not so much just showing you how to get rich, but removing the barriers, really. That's the important part as well. And how to create the relationships that you want. Restructure your life on your own terms. It's a thought quake. That's a jokey word I came up with. Somebody's got thoughtquake.com. It's a game, you know, electronics game things. Otherwise, I'd have grabbed thoughtquake.com. Trust me. Anyway, all of this stuff, all this good stuff, valued at whatever you want to say, but $12,000 or more, depending on how you use it. But honestly, it's only $395. I think most people would barely miss that. When your next paycheck comes around, it will get absorbed anyway. Okay, so go and join with us, and we already have several hundred in the group. Join Punk Psychology Academy. Go to punkpsychologyacademy.com, click a few buttons and you're in. I'll see you on the inside. We're starting the new training program next week. And as I said, we've even got a 2-pay. How cool is that? 2 payments of $220. You pay a little more. That's the usual rules of the game. You'll see, if you want to do that, you'll see a link there to click on. You can just click on that and choose it if that's what you want, if it'll make it less painful to just do 2 hits. It's your choice. Okay, so the sign-up place is at punkpsychologyacademy.com. Over you go and join with us. Listen, if you still find yourself hesitating, recognize that this is one of the most obstructive mechanisms of the mind, the one that costs you the most. And I'm talking old habits, bad habits. I'm here offering you a whole new start in life, or you'll find yourself sitting with the same old thoughts that hold you back. It's a choice. Indecision and sloth, delay, these are deadly to your future. They're deadly to everything. Okay, let's go through this one more time then. You've got the Punk Psychology Academy, 28 video modules teaching unique stuff that nobody else is doing, valued, well, at least $2,000. 10 or more hours of expert coaching. I've set that at 2,500. I could set it at 15,000, to be honest. 10 hacks as ebooks, super easy, real IQ tricks, $300. You've got weekly Q&A calls with me. Personally, I will be on the line answering questions. It will not be one-on-one, but it doesn't need to be one-on-one. If you've got questions, I will answer your questions, and I won't be hanging up until everybody's questions are answered. But then don't forget, perhaps the most valuable, in a way, peer buddy experience of the techniques. You do it, turn it, excuse me. I need a drink of water, excuse me. The atmosphere is extremely dry here in the desert. You can do as much as you like. I mean, you twin up with a buddy and you can do 20, 30, 50 hours a piece each way if you want. You can rattle on as much as you want, getting better and better all the time, clearing more and more of the past, more and more attention units in the present. It's good. Okay, so all of that for only $395. As I said, there are no catches, no tricks. I don't want to work like that. And yes, of course, you'd expect some kind of guarantee. We have to say this, if you're not satisfied with my promise of a raised real IQ. Now, remember, I'm not talking an academic IQ. Then we'll refund you in full. But the stipulation only is that you've done the work. You've come to the sessions and submitted your work. Otherwise, you're not serious, and we're not joking or kidding around here. I want to change the world. The world is in desperate need of help and rescue right now, and I've pinned my flag to the mast. I've been telling people for the past 3 or 4 years now, I want to heal the world. I want to be doctor to the planet, and it desperately needs healing. Okay, to join with me, you go to punkpsychologyacademy.com. There's the link. Look, this is perhaps the last thing. It has to be said. You can go on doing the same old things and being the same old you. That's fine. Life doesn't get better as you roll along. As a matter of fact, as a doctor, and we all know anyway, but as a doctor, it just gets tougher. There's more loss, more hurt. Your memory starts to fail. Your energies kind of go on the slide. Troubles stack up. And if you don't take action, nothing changes. So the first step of an active, real IQ is to make a decision to change. And it starts by joining me on this program. The cost of freedom, excitement, success, and empowering change is just $395. All right, one important last question. What do you want more of? You want more TV time, more ice cream, more beer, more burgers, more days at the ball game? Or do you really want, like most of us, what you really want is more love, more money, more satisfaction at work, more skills at problem solving, a life of thrills, a good life, in other words. Okay, I've said my piece. There you go. You have two choices. You can have achievement or you can have excuses. You can hang on to that precious $395 and just live with your excuses as to why life isn't working. Or you can part with a small sum, an investment, and you won't need excuses. It's an investment because you get it back manyfold. Your choice. Okay, so I promised you if you got this far, I'd share something special, a gift. Well, what I've come up with is a video called The Evidence-Based Life. It's about 33 minutes. Now, it's not as boring as it sounds. Trust me, it's full of fabulous stuff about how to see things differently. And it's if you like, the counter to the world's trend for frantic haste now, instant, everything quick. You don't have to think. It happens to you yesterday. I mean, it's just getting crazy out there. You used to have 30 days to lose 7 pounds slimming, and then it was 10 days, and then 7 days, and then some people are doing 6 days so that they could get ahead of the people who are teaching 7 days and so on. Excuse me, folks. My vocal cords are very dry. You can have that. You can watch that video for free, and this is the address. Now, I don't know, not all of you, I think, may not know the Bitly concept. It's actually a website. It's called bit.ly, www.bit.ly or Bitly, and then /Scott-Mumby1. That's my name without the hyphen, notice. Scott-Mumby1. When you type that link into your address bar, it will take you straight to the video and you can watch it, okay? Bitly /Scott-Mumby1. Okay. So I've repeated that there. It's on the top of the thing if you want to make a note of it. Now, if you've got any questions before you want to join us or commit, that's fine. We'll answer all questions. Just email to info@supernoetics.com. My gosh, I just realized here's a word I don't think I mentioned. But anyway, supernoetics is the sort of mother of punk psychology and hypnoetics. It means, well, super means biggest and best, as you know, and noetics is mind and spirit. So, I mean, you could say it's me to the max, but, you know, we boast that we have the protocols for change and human transformation. So if you email info@supernoetics.com, we can answer any and all of your questions. Otherwise, meanwhile, go to punkpsychologyacademy.com and sign up. Okay, so we have a questions panel here. So whilst I think a lot of you guys are clicking through and getting yourself signed up and so on, we've probably got some questions on the chat. If not, I'm good anyway. I'm guessing if not, then it means I did a really good job. In fact, I'm not seeing any. So you guys, if you know how to use the chat, then you just type in what you want me to know or the question that you want me to answer. For example, David has said, thank you for presentation and offers, and I'm going to explore further. Okay, good. Don't get stuck into that. Can't make your mind up though, David. I mean, I've tried to make it a no-brainer, you know, thousands of dollars worth of training at healing lives and transforming the way people feel for just under 400 bucks. Pretty good. Anyone else with questions? Nobody coming through. Okay. Well, because I want to wrap up this recording. I mean, it is something that we want to export. A lot of people have queued up to say, please, I need the recording. You know, guys in Europe are fast asleep right now. It's the middle of the night for them. So I'm going to stop it here. And then I will hang around, though. It doesn't mean I'm going to sign off. I'll hang around and see if anyone thinks of any last-minute questions. Otherwise, to enroll, as I said, go over there to punkpsychologyacademy.com, and I'll see you on the inside. I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun in the next few months, teaching this and watching people awake and come alive and get excited at what can be done. And trust me, you ain't seen nothing yet. Okay.